Hello everyone. Today I'm here again with the second part of chapter An Imperial Capital Vijayanagara Empire part 2. In the previous chapter we talk about the rulers of Vijayanagara Empire and the physical environment, in which we talk about the water resources, fortification, road in Vijayanagara Empire. Now we'll continue this chapter with the urban core. There is a relatively little archaeological evidences of the houses of ordinary people. Archaeologists have found fine Chinese porcelain in some areas, which suggests that these areas may have been occupied by rich traders. Tomb and mosque located here have distinctive functions, yet their architecture resembled that of mandapa found in the temples of Hampi. The house of ordinary people are thatched, but they were well built and arranged according to the occupation. In Long Street, with many open places, field surveys indicated that the entire area was dotted with numerous shrines and small temples, pointing to the prevalence of a variety of cults, perhaps supported by different communities. These surveys also indicated that wells, rainwater tanks, as well as temples tanks may have served as source of water to the ordinary town dwellers. The Royal Centre in the Vijayanagara. The Royal Centre was located in the southwestern part of the settlement. About 30 buildings complexes have been identified as palaces. They were relatively large structures that do not seem to have been associated with ritual functions. One difference between these structures and temples is that the temples were constructed entirely of masonry, while the secular buildings were made up of pressable material. One of the more distinctive structures in the area was the King's Palace, which is the largest of the enclosures but not yielded definitive evidences of the being a royal residence. The King's Palace has two most impressive platforms, usually called the Audience Hall and the Navmi Dibba. The entire complex is surrounded by high double wall with the street running between them. The hall is a big platform with slot for wooden pillars at close and regular intervals. It had a staircase going up to the second floor. It is not very clear what the hall was used for. Mahanavami Dibba, a massive platform rising from a base of about 11,000 square feet to the height of 40 feet. There is evidence that it supported a wooden structure. The base of the platform is covered with relief carving. So, ritual associated with the structure or the ceremonies performed in Mahanavami Dibba on the occasion of like worship of the images, worship of the state horse, sacrifices of buffalo and other animals, dance, wrestling, matches, and processions of elephants, chariots, and soldiers. Ritual presentation before the king and his guests by the chief Nayakas and subordinate kings mark the occasion. On the last day of the festival, the king inspected his army and the armies of the Nayakas in a grand ceremony in an open field. On this occasion, the Nayakas brought rich gifts for the king as well as the stipulated tributes. So, one of the most beautiful building in the Royal Centre is Elephant Stable and Hazara Ram Temple. Another, this elephant stable it was having a living room and beautiful structure over them. This may have been used for the keeping special elephants which were used for king's family. You can see this in picture also. Then Hazaram temples. This was also one of the most spectacular temples in the royal center. This was probably meant to be used only by the king and his family. The images in the central shrines are missing, however. Sculpted panels on the wall have scenes from the Ramayana sculpted on the inner wall of the shrine. Now, one of the most beautiful buildings in the royal center is the Lotus Temple, so named by the British travelers in the 19th century. While the name is certainly romantic, historians are not quite sure what the building was used for. According to Mackenzie, this may have been a council chamber, a place where the king met his advisors. While many of the structures at Vijayanagara were destroyed when the city was sacked, traditions of building palatial structures were continued by the Nayakas. Many of these buildings have survived. The sacred centers in the Vijayanagara. According to the local tradition, the hill near the sacred center shelters the monkeys' kingdom of Vali and Sugriv mentioned in the Ramayana. Other traditions suggest that Pampa Devi, the local mother goddess, did penance in these hills in order to marry Virupaksha, the guardian deity of the kingdom, who is recognized as a form of Shiva. Among these hills are found Jain temples of the pre-Vijayanagara period as well. In other words, this area was associated with several sacred traditions such as the Pallavas, Chalukyas, Hoshalas and Cholas. Rulers were often encouraged temple buildings as a means of associating themselves with the divine. Temples also functioned as centers of learning. Ruler granted land and other resources for the maintenance of the temple. Temple developed as significant religious, social, cultural and economic center. From the point of view of the rulers, constructing, repairing and maintaining temples were important means of winning support and recognition for their power, wealth and piety. The Vijayanagara king claimed to rule on the behalf of the god Virupaksha. All royal orders were signed Shri Virupaksha, usually in the Kannada script. Rulers also indicated their close link with the god by using the title Hindu Suratrana. This meant Hindu Sultan. The Rai Gopurams or royal gateways that often dwarf the towers on the gateway, which signaled the presence of temples from the great distance. They were also probably meant as reminders of the power of the king, able to command the resources, techniques, and skills needed to construct these towering gateways. Other distinctive features including mandapas or pavilion and long pillared corridors that often run around the shrine within the temple complex. A characteristic feature of the temple complex is the chariot street that extended from the temple gopuram in a straight line. These streets were paved with stone slabs and lined with pillared pavilion in which merchants set up their shops. Now the Virupaksha temple. The Virupaksha temple was built in the 19th century. The hall in front of the main shrine was built by the Krishnadev Rai to mark his accession. He is also credited with the construction of the eastern gopuram, which made the central small. The hall in the temple were used for a variety of purposes. Some were space in which the image of gods were placed to witness special programs of music, dance, drama, etc. Other was used to celebrate the marriages of the deities, and yet other were meant for the deities to swing in. Now the Vithala temple. In the Vithala temple, the principal deity was Vithala, a form of Vishnu generally worshipped in Maharashtra. The introduction of the worship of the deity in Karnataka is another indication of the way in which the rulers of the Vijayanagara accepted different traditions. As in the case of other temples, these temples too had several halls. This temple had a unique feature that the main shrine is designed like a chariot. You can see this chariot in the picture also. Now the plotting or locating palaces, temple and bazaars in Vijayanagara Empire. After the initial survey by Colin Mackenzie, information was pieced together from travelers' account and inscriptions through the 20th century. The site of Vijayanagara was preserved by the Archaeological Survey of India and the Karnataka Department of Archaeology and Museum. In 1976, Hampi was recognized as a site of national importance. In 1980s, an important project was launched to document the material remains at Vijayanagara in detail through extensive and intensive surveys by using a variety of recording techniques. One of such techniques was mapping. The first step of mapping was to divide the entire area into a set of 25 squares, each designated by a letter of the alphabet. Then each of the small squares was subdivided into a set of even smaller squares. Each of these smaller squares are further subdivided into yet smaller units. These detailed surveys have been extremely painstaking and have recovered and documented traces of thousands of structures from tiny shrines and residences to elaborate temples. It is worth remembering that John M. Fritz, George Michael, and M.S. Nagarjun Rao, who worked for a year at the site to discover many important aspects of Vijayanagara. So, buildings that survive tell us tell us about the way spaces were organized and used, how they were built, with what material and techniques. Although wooden structures are lost and only stone structures survive, the descriptions left by travelers allow us to reconstruct some aspect of the vibrant life of the time. They convey ideas which the builders or their patrons wish to project. So, hope you like this presentation. Thank you.